Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Team America World Police, starring and directed by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the two people that create and brought the world South Park. Now, I have seen this movie before when it was the last day it was in theaters, but it's is it as funny as I remembered back in the day, back in 2004? And let's get into the movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. The creators of South Park bring this movie where the world is puppets. As we start with Paris, France, where a little French boy finds some terrorists led by someone whom I swear to God it thought that was looked like Osama bin Laden, as they planned on taking Paris down and Team America until America World Police, led by Spotswood, as well as Carson, Joe, Chris, Sarah, and Lisa, stopped by the terrorists by killing every single last motherfucking one of them. As Lisa says an awful one-liner, terrorize this, and shoots a terrorist dead, and Chris beats up on one looking terrorist person, like they're going to hump, and they look like they're humping each other by the ball sack. Like, I swear to God, that's what it looks like. And is this humor in this thing offensive? Yes. But they get every single last one of them, and it's a victory until Carson wants to marry Lisa, as he gets shot dead by a terrorist. As Joe and Chris kill the motherfucker off, as Lisa screams at the heavens for Carson's death. Meanwhile, Spotswood replaces Carson with Gary, who's a Broadway actor whom is performing a musical about everyone has AIDS, which is offensive and stupid in my opinion. And I like the puppet animation as it's original, as it'll never be done again. And Gary is a very good actor by making people cry. And how so? He thinks about the saddest moment of his life, which will be explained later in the movie. As he thinks about it again and again, and I guess this movie makes interesting choices, but unfortunately, it's not that funny in my opinion after all these years. Spotswood gets Gary to Mount Rushmore, where Team America is located at, while Spotswood says something that doesn't make sense. Like, have you seen a man eat his own head? Just, ugh, that's impossible, right off the fucking bat. As the writing makes no sense while Spotswood introduces Gary to Joe, Sarah, Chris, and Lisa, Chris comes off a little bit more aggressive, as well as intelligence, which is an AI computer, and Gary refuses and makes a detour around Washington, D.C., while the music in this movie is fucking obnoxious, as the songs are ridiculous, as I only like a few of them, and I'll point them out later on, but most of the songs are just obnoxious. We get introduced to the movie's villain, Kim Jong-il, who was a real dictator in North Korea who steals the movie from the other characters, as he's the only thing I laughed at this whole movie, which is very sad in so many levels, as Gary comes back to Team America saying he's in starting with Sarah disguising his Gary as a Middle Eastern terrorist, and his look doesn't make doesn't look Middle Eastern, as they go to Cairo, Egypt, and while they're on the way, the song "America, Fuck Yeah" is playing in the background, and this song is getting played again and again. And the more they sing it in this movie, the less I like the song, as it's a little repetitive at times. While Chris has his reasons for hating actors, which will be explained at the end of the film, and when we get to Cairo, they get to Cairo, Chris can't help but threaten Gary by, if he betrays them, he'll rip his fucking balls off and shove it up his ass, and when he takes a dump, it's on his nutsack. And again, it makes no sense. Like, does Trey Parker and Max Stone make shit up like puppets eating their anuses? Which is impossible, sure, as Gary talks his way in like a terrorist, which I gotta say about the anus part, South Park did something like that where Cartman dumps from his mouth or whatever. Well, fuck that's. But anyways, as Gary talks his way like a terrorist, as Cairo's leader believes Gary has balls to ask any terrorist an attack coming soon, while Sarah and Lisa treasure their friendship, while the audience learns Joe has feelings for Sarah, which will happen early and often, and as that'll get annoying half the time, in my opinion. The terrorists take Gary on a joyride to escape as Team America as Team America blows half Cairo to shit. And these motherfuckers should be terminated for blowing up part of Cairo while the terrorists pull over and pass Team America so they can blow up Team America. And Lisa saves Gary's life as Chris and Joe make them slip and blow half of Cairo as the news brings up how Team America pisses off the entire world. And the Film Actors Guild, or FAG is what they're going to call it for the whole movie, for short, led by Alec Baldwin, are against Team America, and Matt Damon saying just his name is very funny to me. As we move on to Kim Jong-il killing Hans Blix for looking for weapons of mass destruction, which is a combo of two things. I find funny while FAG was pretty fucking offensive and stupid as hell, as Team America celebrates Gary's success at Cairo. And do I give a shit about any of these scenes other than Kim Jong-il and Matt Damon just saying his name? Hell to the motherfucking no, because this movie is stupid. Gary explains how about his sad story about when he was young. A couple of gorillas killed Gary's brother because of his acting, and he wants to kiss Lisa, and he promises her he will not die, which again doesn't make any sense, until they hump each other's asses. And come on, puppets having sex, I mean, fucking really? Once again, that's stupid. Like, how the fuck does that work if they're motherfucking puppets? Oh god, I don't want to even go there at all. Meanwhile, terrorists blow up Panama Canal, and Team America receives the unfortunate news, which they turn on the TV and hear Alec Baldwin, which is Gary's favorite actor, saying blame Team America. And Gary blames himself again, as he got 1,000 people dead, while Spotswood says a thing that makes no sense, where, like, there's no I in Team America, when really there is, as intelligence says there is, while people are protesting against Team America, as Gary quits Team America as well as acting forever, and Sarah is heartbroken because she has a thing for Gary and is upset with Lisa, and Joe feels kind of like dying, and I don't buy this piece of drama while singing America Fuck Yeah in a sad way is too melodramatic and bland for a comedy, and that's the worst thing for a comedy to be. Team America gets attacked by the terrorists led by Kim Jong-il, and while they're fighting the terrorists, Sarah learns Joe has feelings for him as Michael Moore, who's famous for making a movie called Fahrenheit 9/11, blows himself up with Spotswood and intelligence, and the terrorists blow up Team America and their helicopters and submarines as Kim Jong-il tells some terrorists to wait for the signal, as he chews out the terrorists for fucking up his plan while he sings I'm So Lonely, which is the funniest song in the movie, as that's my number 2 that I like in the soundtrack, whereas America Fuck Yeah is number 3 because, to be fair, the more that song plays, the less I like it. And I'll get to number 1 when I get there in a few minutes. Meanwhile, Gary becomes a drunk and he gets encountered by a homeless man talking about being a dick versus a pussy versus an asshole. And Gary is forced to leave the bar as he pukes all over the alleyway as he lies down on his own vomit. And come on, nobody pukes like the way he does, as that feels completely unrealistic to me. We get to the Film Actors Guild meeting with Alec Baldwin and the other actors around them, and Matt Damon just saying his name, as it was led by Kim Jong-il, and he brings the world's leaders from other countries while Kim Jong-il tortures Team America and explains his plot as he blows up the infinity amount of people in the world. And he takes Lisa out of the cage as we move on to my favorite song about how Pearl Harbor sucked and how much Michael fucking Bay shouldn't make movies anymore. Because I believe he's a hack of a director nowadays, called The End of an Act. Plays in the background as Gary rides a motorcycle to Mount Rushmore and sees intelligence and Spotswood are alive. And Gary gets back to the team as he sucks Spotswood's cock. And is this supposed to be a fucking miracle? As this is completely unrealistic. As this song about montage playing in the background, and I thought, really with this bullshit? I mean, oh my god, this is bad. The world's leaders are at the ceremony that Kim Jong Il invented with the fag, as they're getting prepared for the show while Gary doesn't show his credentials like a Jedi, and this is not Star Wars good at all. As Gary disguises himself as a bad guy, and the team reluctantly agrees to help Gary as Spotswood is alive, and they're led to believe he's dead and tells them to take Gary back. And the actors fight Team America, and the piece of Kill Bill music comes in, and Gary blows up the actors. And Joe and Sarah team up with Gary and team up while Gary and Chris, as they split up, and Joe and Sarah get trapped by the Panthers, which look like black cats. Which I guess is kind of funny while Gary and Chris encounter Susan Sarandon and they kill her off while Chris explains why he doesn't like actors, and it's because he was sexually assaulted by the actors on the play Cats because they were drunk, which I guess makes sense, but most of the movie doesn't. Joe and Sarah saved themselves by making the Panthers go after a couple of actors, while Gary and Chris get beat up by Tim Robbins, Helen Hunt, Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson, and Matt Damon, until Joe and Sarah come in and fight off the remaining actors, as Sam Jackson and Chris has the same moves, and they kill every single one of them motherfuckers up, as it ends with Tim Robbins getting burned by fire from Chris's cigarette, as Alec Baldwin makes a speech about the fag way, until Team America comes in to arrest Kim Jong-il, as Kerry takes up the stage against Alec Baldwin and overact him, and he makes a speech about dicks, pussies, and assholes, like that homeless guy said earlier in the movie, at the bar, as there's 2 minutes into the 5-minute countdown, as it almost blows everyone, but luckily Gary overacts Alec Baldwin, and the world's leaders turn against Alec Baldwin, and Kim Jong-il kills Alec Baldwin dead, as he tries to take over the world until Lisa kicks Kim Jong-il to the pointy hat part, poking him to death, as she says, terrorize this, and he pushes the cancel button, Gary does, and he's crazy for Lisa, and something comes out of Kim Jong-il's mouth, which happens to be an evil, which happens to be a fucking cockroach, and which flies away in a rocket, and Team America continues to fight the terrorists, and the climax was not as funny as a successful movie, as it failed to make me laugh, and with an exception of a few things. And what were they? Let's talk about it in a rating. I'll give this movie a 4.1 out of 10. The only funniest thing in this whole goddamn movie is the portrayal of Kim Jong-il and his song I'm So Lonely, as those are the scenes I generally laughed at. Oh, and Matt Damon saying his own name, but the rest of the movie is offensive and stupid. Like a couple of examples, like Everyone Has AIDS as a song, and the Film Actors Guild, or the initial spelled fag. And if there's one thing Trey Parker knows how to do, it's offending people. And I'm not a fan of that kind of humor. When I get to Tropic Thunder, you'll know how these movies, as well as their humor, won't age well for me. And the puppet animation was, I guess, fine, as it's original for sure, but the acting is bad, and unfortunately I didn't laugh at most of the movie, which is very sad. The writing doesn't make much sense based on things people say in the movie, and the music is fucking obnoxious, with an exception of I'm So Lonely, and a few of them which I talked about, like The End of an Act, which was the Pearl Harbor Sucked song, and America Fuck Yeah, which was sung again and again, and the more they sing that song, the less I like it, honestly. And this movie got annoying without Kim Jong-il in it. And Matt Damon saying his own name, as that cracks me up. But other than that, this is a stupid movie that sometimes makes no sense. With an exception of the three things I brought up, the movie is not funny, as this is not a good political movie from the 2000s, and R-rated raunchy humor kind of bullshit, like I've said before, is not my favorite kind of movie. And this is a mild non-recommendation because there was a few things I laughed at for the rest of as the rest of this is not funny. Like, I never liked after season 1 of South Park. I only liked the first season, and there's a good reason I never reviewed the South Park movie, because it would be like the Simpsons movie, where I'm afraid that'll be just as disappointing. But this is worse than the Simpsons movie, in my opinion. Like South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut, which is very sad. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this. And no, I will never do South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut, is what my point is. But thank you guys for joining me for this review. And until then, America, fuck yeah, I guess.